Hey, this is John Lee Dumas, the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And if you're wanting to learn how to embrace change and navigate through disruption as a leader, then listen to the Leadership is Changing podcast with my good friend, Dennis Giannoutzis. He's prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Dennis Giannoutzis.
Hey there, listeners. Well, welcome to 2025. I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Leadership is Changing podcast. But as we step into a brand new year, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible journey we've had in 2024. Over the past year, I've been privileged to feature some amazing guests on this podcast, leaders, change makers, and innovators who shared their wisdom, experiences, and insights. And together we've explored what it means to lead in today's ever-changing world. Over the next month, we're going to bring you some of these highlights. And in the Highlights 2024 episodes, we're bringing you some of the most impactful moments and key takeaways from 2024. Now, these highlights capture the essence of what this podcast is all about, helping leaders like you thrive in times of change and complexity. Now, whether it's tips on being courageous, thinking outside the box, adapting, or navigating transitions to higher levels of leadership, these snippets are sure to inspire and energize you for the year ahead. And of course, these highlights are just the tip of the iceberg. If something resonates with you, I encourage you to go and check out the full interviews from 2024 to dive deeper into the incredible conversations we've had. So let's get into it. Here are the highlights from 2024 on the Leadership is Changing podcast.
I'm in New York City, right on Wall Street.
Right on Wall Street.
Yeah.
So is it near those statues like the Bull out on the street? Are you nearby that?
Yeah, the Bull is literally like right behind the building that I'm in.
Oh, wow.
I don't need to be here, but it was just like a childhood dream that I want to move to Wall Street. But I still work on the computer, so I don't need to be here.
A childhood dream. Tell us more about that. What is it that you wanted to do?
I think like every guy at some point gets interested about the stock market. And when I got into it, and at that time I was still in India, and then I moved to London for a little bit. So I was in my dorm room. I was like, it would be nice to be on Wall Street. You watch all these movies, you watch all these things, although it's nothing like that in real life. But I had it on my vision board. I used to have a vision board, and in that I had like all these things that I would want to achieve in life. And so that's why the first time when I hit my number, I made some money with my trading and investing. I was like, I'm going to move right to Wall Street. And now I'm thinking about actually moving out, maybe go to Texas or something.
Yeah, Texas. Whereabouts in Texas would you go?
Thinking about Austin, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to, when you're in New York City, it's hard to move out.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. So, but I love Texas. If I was to move to the US, it probably would be Texas. It'd probably be Dallas for me, although I like Houston and Austin as well. But yeah, great places. So what Anmol saying here, listeners, is that the fact that you actually are in the middle of where it's all happening. So if you want to be part of it, you need to be there and follow the money and be where the money's been made. It's really important for you to do that. So it's really good. Vision board. I think that's something that leaders need to think about as well, is having a vision board. When you created the vision board, how much of that did you get to tick off or say, okay, we've done that, we've done that? How did that go for you?
I'd say 80% of the stuff on there I've ticked off.
Wow.
20%'s left, but that I'm sure I will take that off with time as well. The other 20% is more about having a nice relationship, having a good family life. So that part I haven't sorted out yet. But in terms of the materialistic things or the business things, a majority of the goals I achieved. And I do give that a lot of credit because I just kept it right on my desk every single day. My wallpaper was a picture of that. My phone wallpaper was a picture of that. So it was like I was really immersed myself in that vision. And I think that's one of the steps to achieving it as well.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I think that's really, really quite cool. 80%. The other 20% is, you said, relationships and things like that. And of course, being on world-class podcasts, you can probably tick that one off now. But it's all good. Very much so about immersing yourself. And that's just the fact, not just about the vision board, but also being where you are in Wall Street and going there, right? So it's immersing yourself into the whole environment. Very, very cool. Now, the other thing is, so you're the founder of livetraders.com, and you also have written a book called Prepping for Success. Tell us more about your background and more about what you've done.
Definitely. So I started getting involved with the stock market while I was still in college. I was studying a business degree in London. And while I was in college, they had a program where before you can graduate, you have to have a few years of internship or work experience. And that's the time where I applied to a bunch of different jobs, internships from the best companies all the way down to the startups. But I wasn't able to get a call back. Like, just didn't get in anywhere. My application wasn't well received. And that's the moment it dawned on me that I can't rely on the world to give me a job or to provide me the job. If I had to achieve what's on my vision board, I have to figure out another way, because I'm not wasting a year in my dorm room while other people are getting internships. My friends are going out getting these great jobs. I had to figure something out. So in that year where I couldn't find a job, I just went online. I researched about the stock market, read a lot of books, bought online courses, talked to a lot of different people, went to different events. And that's where the seeds were planted about me getting into the stock market. And then while I was still in college, I was trading for a firm in New York. I was trading their company's money. And in exchange, they would take 30% of everything that I made. So while I was in college, I was still in my dorm room doing that, skipping lectures and trading for a different company and doing pretty well at that point. That's how I got into the stock market. And, since then, I've been doing that ever since. I've never had a job. That's all I've ever done most of the time. And I met a mentor who is actually my business partner now. So he's the guy who taught me how to get involved in the stock market, got me introduced to this company, got me a place at the company to work for. And then, just started trading for them, started coaching for them. And one day the CEO called me up. He said, "Hey, you're doing really well in our program. You've all the way crossed to level 7. Majority of our new hires are stuck at level 2, level 3. Why don't you come in and do a little seminar for the new hires that we have and help them get up to the levels?" That's how I got into the coaching game and the coaching business, is by working for that company. So I learned everything I know about the business within that framework. And then in 2015, when that company got bought out, that's when I decided to say, you know what? I don't need to give them 30% of everything I make. Maybe I should start my own thing. And that's how Live Traders was started.
Awesome. And going really well, which is great. And the book, Prepping for Success, how did that come about?
Yeah, so Prepping for Success came about as I embarked on my personal development journey, because trading was the biggest personal development journey I've ever embarked on. When you're risking millions of dollars every single day in the stock market, it could really affect your psychology. It can really affect your mindset. And research has already been done. Trading releases the same hormones of dopamine and serotonin, the same ones you get when you gamble, right? When you have sex, when you do any sort of illicit drugs. Now, as traders, we get that every single day. So if you're not emotionally stable, it could really, really mess you up, as we've seen with a lot of different, stories that we heard about trading and investing. So that got me into a personal development journey, because I realized how messed up I really was. Like, I was emotionally trading, making bad decisions, ignoring all the systems and the data, and just, this is how I feel the stock is going to do. And you end up over risking, over leveraging. And that's what got me into my personal development journey, where I hired tons of coaches, mentors, workshops, seminars, spiritual retreats, really try to work on myself. And I realized that not everybody has that time or the money to do the things that I did to figure out to where I got to. So my goal with this book was to distill everything that I've learned in my personal development journey and put it into just 10 keys that people can start executing on right away. That has helped me improve the quality of my life, and hopefully for the readers as well.
There you go, listeners. Check it out. The book is Prepping for Success. Sounds very, very cool to read. As we're recording this, listeners, what's quite funny is that the eclipse is happening right now for Amanda. And so it's pretty exciting times.
Dark.
Yeah, going into the dark. Well, sometimes what happens in leadership, we get into the dark. We get into areas which are a little bit, we're not sure where we're going. We're going to talk about that with Amanda very soon as well. Amanda, I've given a very brief sort of introduction to you. Tell us more about you, your background, and what you do.
Sure. So I am an attorney. I was born in New Jersey and came from a very entrepreneur-like family. My dad was an attorney, and I met my husband in law school at St. John's University in Queens, New York. And so if there's any Johnnies listening, I'm sure they'll be very happy and proud.
Is that what you call it? You call yourselves the alumni Johnnies?
That's their team, the Johnnies. They're like, I guess they're mascots. Yeah, we met in law school. Tommy, my husband, is a year older than me in law school, so he graduated before me. And I went out to Miami right after law school to do a contract as a prosecutor at Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. And I did that for a little bit. My husband came, took the bar, moved out. At the time, he was my boyfriend, and we moved back to New York after we decided we wanted to settle down and have a family. And so we came home and I was in-house counsel for a plastic surgery company and a NASDAQ company.
Hmm.
And then my husband was working as an attorney for a very well-respected, very large law firm. And he left to start his own firm, and it was just getting so big. So it was either he hires someone or I come aboard, and I came aboard. And 6 years later, here we are.
Wow. Awesome. Tell me, I see also in your resume that you helped start the Kings County District Attorney's Office anti-bullying program. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, like almost every kid, I don't want to speak for everybody, but we all have our bullies and our scars. And so I was bullied my whole life for my weight. I was a very overweight kid, and I had weight loss surgery at 17 years old and lost a great deal of weight, but was faced bullying my whole life. When I applied for law school, on my personal statement, I talked about the bullying. When I had my weight loss surgery, People magazine, which I'm not sure if it's by you, but it's a pretty big magazine here, they did a big story on me. And from that, a bunch of Good Morning America, Today's Show, like a bunch of Oprah, Tyra Banks, like it picked up over here. Because at that time, bullying was a huge issue, but nobody was talking about it, especially kids. And so I was willing to talk about it at that time. And then I wrote about it in my personal statement. And at the time, the DA for Kings County in Brooklyn, Charles Hines, read my personal statement and said, "You have to do something with this. I feel everything off of these pages. It's like so palpable." And so we started this unit at the DA's office where basically myself and a very seasoned DA went to all the schools in Brooklyn, or a good portion of them, and spoke about the moral and legal ramifications of bullying. And it was very impactful. We got a lot of positive feedback, and I hope helped a lot of people. Unfortunately, it had to stop because I was in law school and can't remember if I was in college or law school at that time, but either way, I was in school and just couldn't really devote as much time as I like. But it is always something that is at the forefront of my mind where I'd like to pursue something like that because it was really just one of the most rewarding things that I've done.
You know what? We still see that today, even in the corporate world, the business world, the community world. There's still going on, not just with young ones, but also with adults as well. And yeah, we see it happening a lot as well. Yep. It's not that great at all.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did you actually get into leadership yourself?
So it's really hard for me to imagine myself as a leader. It's like a very tough thing to say, but if you phrase leadership more as like somebody who has the benefit of being in somewhat of a powerful position, but still able to help others achieve that or be with you along the ride, then sure, that's what I am. But I started the firm with my husband, and we basically just any employees we have or any colleagues that we have, we just always lend a helping hand. We always remember if any of our friends are thinking about starting a law firm or wanting to start a business, we are like the first ones to jump on board to help them and let them know what the ebbs and flows would be and how we can make that transition easier. So I think I wouldn't, again, classify myself as a leader, but I would classify those as leadership qualities. And that is certainly what we tried to do.
Yeah, and I think even what you were talking about before about the anti-bullying program and what you wrote and then you being involved with that's leadership as well. That's you going out and doing things. And I think the big thing for me is that leadership is really influence, and it's about how you can be influential in whatever you do to help others as well be the best that they can be and moving forward.
And I think to your point, how it's changing, just the type of boss, if you will, you can't really speak for everybody because obviously there's all types of people, all types of boss. But for myself, I witnessed growing up, my parents had a lot of businesses. I was around a lot of business owners, and it was more of like an intense way of owning a business, right? Like, don't use your phone. You can't have a break. You can't do this. Like, lunch is exactly 30 minutes. And like, it was very intense. And I think that in today's time, or at least I hope, and I'm not saying for everybody, but for us at least, we're like a little bit more relaxed with those things, because those types of things I think mean more important to people than, of course, money talks, right? But like, if you were to give people quality of life and just make them feel like a person, and that you actually care about their day to day or their family or things like that, and not just like clock in, clock out, and what you can do for me within those hours, it makes a person want to stay with you regardless if they're disgruntled about their salary or whatever's going on in life, or it just makes a better person, which will ultimately make a better employee. And so I think that is like the largest thing that I've seen, being able to be in that position, to be able to be an employer and be able to make those change, the things that I hated as an employee. That's a really rewarding thing. And that's a big thing that's changed. I know not everybody, but I've seen many, many business owners handle themselves in that way, which is wonderful.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Dennis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.